Myself, Dr. Bhavna Gamit, Associate Professor in Pathology Department, Government Medical College, Surat. I teach you diabetic nephropathy. Objective of today's lecture is to learn pathogenesis, morphology and clinical presentation of diabetic nephropathy. Now, diabetic nephropathy is a leading cause of end-stage renal disease. Approximately 30 to 40% of all diabetic develop clinical evidence of nephropathy. Diabetes mellitus is a group of metabolic disorder sharing the common feature of hyperglycemia. The World Health Organization estimates that as many as 346 million people suffer from diabetes worldwide, with the India and China being the largest contributor to the world's diabetic load. Increasingly sedentary lifestyle and poor eating habit have contributed to the simultaneous escalation of diabetes and obesity, which some have called the diabesity epidemic. Sadly, obesity and diabetes have now extended even to children who subsist on junk food and lack of adequate exercise. Now, diabetes are of two types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease characterized by pancreatic B-cell destruction and absolute deficiency of insulin. It accounts for 5 to 10% of all cases and is the most common subtype diagnosed in patients younger than 20 years of age. Type 2 diabetes is combination of peripheral resistance to insulin and inadequate secretory response by the pancreatic B cell, also known as relative insulin deficiency. Approximately 90 to 95% of diabetic patients have type 2 diabetes, and the vast majority of such individuals are overweight. Although classically considered adult onset, the prevalence of type 2 diabetes in children and adolescents has been increasing at an alarming pace due to the increasing rate of obesity in this age group. The basic finding is chronic hyperglycemia and metabolic dysregulation are associated with secondary changes in multiple organ systems, mainly in the kidney, eye, nerve and blood vessel. So, chronic complication of diabetes include diabetic nephropathy. Complication we divide in two categories: involvement of large and medium-sized muscular vessel, that is known as macrovascular complication, and small vessel involvement, that is known as diabetic microvascular disease. So in the macrovascular disease, mainly there is atherosclerosis that lead to the myocardial infarction, stroke and lower extremity ischemia, while small vessel disease involve retina, kidney and peripheral nerve, resulting in diabetic retinopathy, nephropathy and neuropathy. So diabetic nephropathy is a complication of long-standing diabetes, type 1 or type 2. And it is a metabolic disorder characterized by hyperglycemia and metabolic dysregulation is responsible. Now what is the pathogenesis? Here persistent hyperglycemia or glucotoxicity is the responsible for long-term complication of diabetes. Most important is formation of advanced glycation end product or AGE. Now glucose combined with free amino group of various body protein and it combined non-enzymatically. Involvement of enzyme is not there. So it is known as non-enzymatic glycosylation. Combination of glucose with protein is known as glycosylation and it does not involve enzyme. So it is a non-enzymatic glycosylation and it forms the glycosylation end product. It is directly proportional to the hyperglycemia. Now, glucose when combined with the hemoglobin, it produces glycated hemoglobin or HbA1c. It is useful for monitoring glycemic control in diabetes during preceding 90 to 120 days because lifespan of the RBC is 90 to 120 days. So, glycosylation end product, initially they are labile and reversible, but subsequently it becomes stable and irreversible. So, advanced glycosylation end product act directly by the receptor or indirectly. Now, when they bind with the specific receptor, this receptor are present on inflammatory cell, macrophage, T cell, endothelium and vascular smooth muscle. What they do? They release the cytokine and growth factor and generation of various reactive oxygen species and increase procoagulant activity. This leads to the deposition of excess basement membrane material and enhance proliferation of vascular smooth muscle cell and synthesis of extracellular matrix. So, advanced glycosylation end product increase basement membrane material and extracellular matrix, or they directly cross-link extracellular matrix protein. They cross-link type 1 collagen or type 4 collagen in basement membrane. When they cross-link, they are resistant to proteolytic digestion. Thus, cross-linking decreases protein removal while enhancing protein deposition. This advanced glycosylation end product, modified matrix component, also trap non-glycated plasma or interstitial protein. In large vessel, trapping of LDL enhance the deposition of cholesterol in the intima and that lead to the atherogenesis. And in capillary, including those of renal glomeruli, plasma proteins such as albumin bind to the glycated basement membrane, accounting in part for the basement membrane thickening that is characteristic of diabetic microangiopathy. So, basic mechanism is glycosylation, non-enzymatic glycosylation and formation of advanced glycosylation end product. And there are very other mechanism also there, that is activation of protein kinase C. Now, calcium dependent activation of intracellular protein kinase C, and the second messenger DAG or diacylglycerol is an important signal transduction pathway. Intracellular hyperglycemia stimulate the de novo synthesis of DAG from glycolytic intermediates and hence cause excessive PKC activation. What is the downstream effect of PKC? It increases the production of various growth factor, procoagulant protein and plasminogen activator inhibitor, and thereby it contribute to diabetic microangiopathy. Oxidative stress and disturbance in polyreol pathway. Some tissue do not require insulin for glucose transport. They are nerves, lens, blood vessel. Now, persistent hyperglycemia in extracellular milieu lead to increased intracellular glucose. This excess glucose is metabolized by enzyme aldose reductase to sorbitol, a polyol, and eventually to fructose in a reaction that use NADPH as a cofactor. Now, NADPH is also required by the enzyme glutathione reductase in a reaction that regenerate reduced glutathione. Glutathione is one of the important antioxidant mechanism in the cell. So, any reduction in glutathione increase susceptibility to oxidative stress. And hexaamine pathway and generation of fructose 6-phosphate. Finally, it is postulated that hyperglycemia induced flux through the hexoamine pathway increase intracellular level of fructose 6-phosphate, which is a substrate for glycosylation of protein, leading to generation of excess proteoglycan. And hemodynamic change, hyperfiltration and activation of renin-angiotensin system is also responsible for diabetic nephropathy. Main is the production of advanced glycosylation end product. Now, various morphological findings. In kidney, mainly it affects glomeruli, but also affect blood vessel and pyelonephritis or tubular lesion. Now we discuss one by one. First is the glomerular lesion. What is glomeruli? Glomeruli is a tuft of capillary invested by two layers of epithelium. It is the basic structural unit of kidney. So here, in the long-standing diabetic, there is a thickening of glomerular basement membrane and diffuse glomerulosclerosis and nodular glomerulosclerosis, also known as Kimmel-Still-Wilson lesion. Widespread thickening of the glomerular basement membrane occur in virtually all diabetic nephropathy. It is the part and parcel of diabetic microangiopathy. It begins as early as 2 years after the onset of type 1 diabetes, and by 5 years, it amounts to about a 30% of cases. Now in routine HNE stain, diffuse thickening of glomerular basement membrane is difficult to appreciate. We should use spatial stain. Here this is the picture of past stain that demonstrates diffuse thickening of glomerular basement membrane, and also there is increased mesangial matrix. This is the electron microscopic picture. It shows the glomerular basement membrane thickening. One is the normal glomerulus with the thin glomerular basement, and left side picture is diabetic glomerulopathy with the thickened glomerular basement membrane. This pure capillary basement membrane thickening can be detected only by electron microscopy in the early stage. Thickening continue progressively, and it also affects the tubular basement membrane. And there is a thickening of glomerular basement membrane, but this capillary are more leaky to the plasma protein. So this is the empty stain that demonstrates thickening of tubular basement membrane. So in the kidney biopsy, we routinely use many spatial stain. One is a past stain, one is a empty stain. Second finding is the diffuse glomerulosclerosis. It occurs in almost all cases of diabetes mellitus. Lesion consists of diffuse increase in mesangial matrix and mild proliferation of mesangial cells. Glomeruli is a collection of tuft of capillary, and it's supported by the mesangial cell and mesangial matrix. So here there is an increased mesangial matrix. This matrix deposition are pass positive, and as the disease progresses, the expansion of mesangial area can extend to form nodulation. The progressive expansion of the mesangium has been shown to correlate well with the measure of deteriorating renal function such as increasing proteinuria. Now various exudative lesion is also seen, that is capsular hyaline drop and fibrin cap. This is the capsular drop. It is a eosinophilic thickening of parietal layer of Bowman's capsule. What is Bowman's capsule or Bowman's space? They are the space surrounding the glomeruli that collect the plasma filtrate first. So here there is a thickening at the parietal layer of Bowman's capsule, and that bulge into the glomerular fibrin cap. This is the same way, it is a homogeneous, brightly eosinophilic material appearing on the wall of capillary. situated peripherally. So peripheral capillary also show the thickening, that is fibrin cap. Now nodular glomerulosclerosis. It is a intercapillary glomerulosclerosis. It is common in type 1 diabetes and common in 50 to 30% in case of long-term diabetics. This is the HNE image. This is the nodular glomerulosclerosis. Many nodules are seen and they are of varying size. So multiple varying size nodule. They are ovoid or spherical, laminated, hyaline, acellular mass. They are located within the lobule of glomerulus and they are surrounded by glomerular capillary loop, which may be normal or thickened. So this is the typical finding, nodular glomerulosclerosis. This is the image of PAS stain that shows the magenta color nodule that are PAS positive. This is the reticulin stain and empty stain. Black is the reticulin stain. It shows the laminated structure. And same way empty stain. That also shows the laminated structure, nodular glomerulosclerosis. So in the glomeruli, there is diffuse thickening of glomerular basement membrane and thickening of the tubular membrane, diffuse and nodular glomerulosclerosis. In vascular lesion, there may be atheroma of renal artery, atherosclerosis. In diabetics, it is related not only to the duration of disease, but also to the level of blood pressure. This atherosclerosis of the renal vessel lead to the renal ischemia, tubular atrophy and interstitial fibrosis. Now, in vascular category, it also involves arteriole, that is hyaline arteriolosclerosis. Arteriole is a small capillary at near the glomeruli. There is two type of capillary, afferent and efferent. These two capillaries shows hyaline amorphous thickening of the wall of arteriole, which cause narrowing of the lumen. So this is the picture of hyaline arteriolosclerosis of the small capillary, and it also shows the nodular glomerulosclerosis. Pyelonephritis, acute and chronic inflammation of the kidney, usually begin in the interstitial tissue and then spread to affect the tubule. Both acute and chronic form of this disease are more common in diabetic than in general population, and once affected, diabetics tend to have more severe involvement. One special pattern of acute pyelonephritis is necrotizing papillitis or papillary necrosis. What is papilla? Is a tip of pyramid. So it is a triangular structure. So this is the image of papillary necrosis. It is more common in diabetics, and other cause of the papillary necrosis are sickle cell disease or NSAIDs. Tubular lesion. This is seen in person with extremely high blood sugar level and excessive glycogen deposition in proximal convoluted tubular cell. Tubules return to normal on control of hyperglycemic state. So these are the morphological findings of diabetic nephropathy. Now what are the clinical manifestations? Earliest manifestation of diabetic nephropathy is the appearance of low amount of albumin in urine, more than 30 mg per day but less than 300 mg per day. That is known as microalbuminuria. So this is the earliest manifestation, and that develop in overt or macroalbuminuria over the time. In the earlier stage, it is a non-nephrotic range of proteinuria that lead to the nephrotic range of proteinuria, and ultimately that lead to the chronic renal failure. After 10 to 15 years, it is accompanied by hypertension. So progression from overt nephropathy to end-stage renal disease is highly variable. By 20 years, more than 75% of type 1 diabetics and approximately 20% of type 2 diabetes with overt nephropathy will develop end-stage renal disease requiring dialysis or renal transplantation. So, take-home message of today's lecture: diabetic nephropathy, morphologically characterized by diffuse and nodular glomerulosclerosis and thickening of the basement membrane in earlier stage, clinically by asymptomatic proteinuria or microalbuminuria, nephrotic syndrome, chronic renal failure that require hypertension or renal transplant, that require dialysis or renal transplant, and for the earliest detection, we should monitor the diabetes very closely, and for the earlier detection of microalbuminuria is important. References are from Robbins, Hirschmohn, and images are taken from various internet sites. Thank you.